Okay, so tonight, hello everyone, Eric here, of course. I wanted to try to reach a lot of people who I might not normally reach. I often talk about a lot of obscure topics, right? But I also like to talk about sort of non-obscure topics as well. And I wanted to tonight talk a little bit, well, perhaps a little bit more than a little bit, about love and what love is, what the history of love has been about, and why it still has problems, why people still have heartbreak. And you try to explain to people, it's like, well, no, when we have a philosophical society, when we have a society which places at its center important philosophical concepts like integrity, like honesty, truth, and reason, and consistency, and all of these things, all of these good, wonderful, beautiful, squishy, cuddly things, you discover that there are implications as to what the world should be like, but what it's not like. And in the future, when philosophy finally fundamentally works, people aren't really going to worry about this stuff much, because love will just be natural and pretty much inundate will pretty much inundate the human condition. We won't have to worry about heartbreak and stuff like that too often, because when you understand what love is, and love is really simple, like all nature, love is very parsimonious, it is very simple. Love is just the involuntary response to virtue. And now, this seems so simple that it just doesn't seem to scale with what we think the world should be like, right? But the reason that love seems to be so complicated is because, well, tragically and unfortunately, true virtue is quite rare. In the future, it won't be, but right now it is comparatively rare. When you understand how virtue is achieved through philosophy, and which is to say, as Aristotle put it, as I have related it, integrity equals virtue equals happiness. If you wish to achieve virtue as a Homo sapien, as a wonderful snowflake individual self-deity, if you wish to achieve virtue, you first and foremost, and more than anything you can possibly imagine, have to have honesty and integrity. And you have to be willing to pursue the discipline. And integrity is not a characteristic like your hair color. Integrity is a mental discipline which can take decades to master. And like all disciplines, perfection can never truly be achieved. And so long as you forever strive towards it and work at it, you will achieve a level of integrity which is so far beyond what you would be capable of if you were just working towards mostly being honest. So not necessarily achieve, but work towards perfect honesty as much as you can with the human beings around you. And no matter how easy it is to tell lies and to misrepresent the truth sometimes, the less you make and enact in the world these false representations, no matter how tempting it is, and I understand it's incredibly hard to get beyond these temptations to lie, because it's the consequences are often so much easier to simply misrepresent the truth. And it is painful and it is hard, and you have to really plant your feet so hard in the ground, so far, so firm, so deep, that the world, in honesty, it seems, just has to revolve around you, no matter where it leads. If you can represent that, if you can do that, if you can truly plant your feet in the cement of truth and reason and integrity, you will find yourself capable finally of virtue as a being. You can act with others because you are perfectly honest with yourself. You can begin to work at and achieve with the human beings around you who are capable of virtue as well, tremendous and unyielding honesty. And you don't meet a lot of people who are capable of forever and unyieldingly striding for integrity, no matter what. But when you can find those people, those will be very wonderful people to have in your life, because they will pursue honesty. And it is through their pursuit of honesty which they will and can accomplish virtue. And it is when two beings who are physically attracted to each other and who are emotionally attracted to the virtue that they have for each other, a reciprocal virtue, right? And that this is very important. If so many of people are incapable of virtue, no matter how hard they try, and this is very sad to relate, but in the future, philosophy will work, and so we won't have to deal with these problems, and the more that we can spread the solutions to these problems, the happier people because they will have love working for them. But so much of society, because they are not capable of honesty, because they are not capable of virtue, they are incapable also of love. Love for themselves and love for the other people around you. And when you understand how large a percentage of this of humanity is, it's very sad, and you wish to reverse this case as much as you can. And there's only one way. I often like to compare it to a world where 600 pounds weight is just normal, right? It's just normal. And then one day someone says to themselves, maybe the world will be a different and better place if I lose some weight, say 400 pounds. And when he does, hey, look, whoa, I can do cartwheels, I can run up the stairs, I live longer, I'm healthier, I'm happier. So as a philosopher and in the pursuit of integrity, you cannot tell people to put down the hamburgers. It doesn't work. Don't try to do what doesn't work. All you can do is show them how to do cartwheels. And if you can embody that integrity, you can show a first glimpse example of what it really means to be able to be capable of virtue, and therefore capable of love with another being who has virtue as well. Because love is simply a reciprocal and involuntary virtue in two human beings, right? So it's when two human beings of virtue can come together, and through the attractions that they find physically and emotionally can affect each other through a reciprocation of honesty, which is when we're getting back to, again, to the root of it. A reciprocation of honesty, and a reciprocation of virtue, and a reciprocation of happiness. And ultimately that is where you find love, when you can reciprocate these beautiful principles with other people who are capable of these principles. And so you want to try to get your virtue radar when it comes to love to work as best you can. And if you're concerned with your children about meeting and not being with somebody who would be a person not, with some lack of virtue, teach them about virtue, show them what it looks like, make a good example, because it will be very clear to them who the people in the world are that are not capable of virtue. And everyone will work to help bring philosophy to the world, and to bring integrity to the world, and to try to bring as much integrity as possible to those people who haven't yet achieved integrity and virtue and happiness as a result. So if we can show these principles and really spread them, love will be a near universal attribute that human beings are capable of achieving. And it's only through integrity and virtue that we can achieve loving pair bonds, or loving larger than pair bonds, whatever it is, right? It will be a society of integrity, and it will be a society of virtue, and it will be a society which is finally, at long last, capable of love without deception, of true love, real love, because its foundations are real honesty and real virtue. Have a good night, guys. Have a wonderful good evening.